Hi everyone and welcome to another reading vlog. It is currently the first day of summerween and I am so excited to spend the next week reading horrors and thrillers and having a good old spooky time. I thought I would start by going through my reading plans for this week. I will also put the prompts on the screen so you can see them, but the first book that I want to try and read tonight. I'm going into this readathon feeling ambitious. So I would like to try and read a book tonight. One of the prompts for Summerween is to read a novella, and I've been meaning to get round to Ring Shout by Djèlí for a while. I've heard really good things about this novella, so I would like to try and read this tonight, or even if I start it tonight and finish it in the morning, then that's one book down already within the first 24 hours. So that's my plan for this evening, and then tomorrow I'm gonna be starting The Last Word by Taylor Adams, which is one of my most anticipated thriller releases for this year. I'm a little bit nervous because it's been a while since I read No Exit by Taylor Adams, and I don't know how I'd feel about it if I read it today. I think I read it back in 2019, before I even started my booktube channel. So yeah, have heard good things about The Last Word so far. I think it's about a book reviewer who may or may not be being stalked by an author after she writes a negative review. So the plot sounds like something I would enjoy, but I'll let you know how I feel about that one once I start it. I am also this week hoping to pick up The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I actually got an arc of this through NetGalley. I think it is out in the UK. I think I got approved at the last minute, but yeah, again, nervous but excited for this one because I've had very mixed responses to Riley Sager's books in the past. I've actually read all of his backlist now. But yeah, I didn't enjoy the last book that I read from him, which was The House Across the Lake. I've heard a few people say though that if you liked Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, then you should like his newest release. And Home Before Dark so far has been my favourite book by Riley Sager. So fingers crossed for a successful reading week. I am going to go and charge my camera battery, and then I'll check in with you once I've finished Ring Shout. Maybe I'll do an update at the halfway point, but I think it's less than 200 pages, so it's probably going to be a one sitting read, but I'll let you know. Good morning, it is now Saturday, and if you can hear rain in the background, it's because it's that really awkward weather where it's boiling hot outside, but the weather is miserable, so I have the window open. We're going to pretend like the ambience is just adding to the atmosphere, but I wanted to do a quick reading update before I head into town because I started and finished Ring Shout by Djèlí last night, and I really enjoyed this. I'm going to give it a 4 stars, I think, but I really liked the ending, so maybe it's closer to a 4.5, but I thought this was really cleverly written. I liked how it blended a few different genres. So the main genre is horror, I'd say, but it also has speculative and fantasy elements, and it's also historical because it's set in the 1920s in America. Essentially, in this alternative history of our world, members of the Ku Klux Klan have turned into literal monsters, and we're following this main character who's a monster hunter. So that's the basic plot. I don't want to say much more than that because I didn't know any more than that going into the book, but there's monsters and there's this band of resistance fighters who are fighting these monsters that not everyone can actually see. The atmosphere was so intense at times. I think that was my favourite thing about the book, was the atmosphere. There were certain scenes that were so vivid, I could picture them clearly in my mind. If you're not great with body horror, then just be aware that this does have that, and it also has like medical and scientific related stuff, which I wasn't expecting. I felt like the characters had really distinctive personalities, and I read this physically, but I could also see it working really well on audio because it's told in first person point of view, and the character's dialect also comes across in the writing, so it's almost like you're reading it with their accent. This felt like a solid 4 stars most of the way through, but I really liked the ending, so maybe it is closer to a 4.5. But yeah, sometimes with novellas I'm left wishing they were longer, but I thought this was the perfect length for me. I need to head off to meet my nan for lunch now, but when I get home I do plan on starting The Last Word by Taylor Adams, so I'll either update you on that this evening or tomorrow once I've read the first third maybe, or 100 pages. I'm not sure how long it is, but I think it's around 300 pages. So yeah, I'll let you know once I've started it.
Pick it up from the top, hit restart. So far it's been so hard to live, but lately something in me changed. Let it go, let it be. Don't fight your way back in. Let me go, let me be. It's time that we begin.
Good morning. It is now Sunday and I woke up stupidly early for a Sunday. Today I spent like 2 hours watching BookTube before I finally had the energy to get up. But I am hoping for a productive reading day today. I made a start on The Last Word by Taylor Adams last night, and this is not the kind of book you want to be reading before bed. I haven't felt this anxious while reading a book since Runtime by Catherine Ryan Howard, which I read last year. This is actually split into parts, so I got to the end of part 1 last night, and this is basically following a woman called Emma who's been staying at this beach house for the past few months, and there's been hints that something maybe traumatic happened in her past, but we don't know the details yet. I think it possibly involves her husband, but that's just me speculating. But yeah, she's been staying in this isolated beach house for the past few months where she only has one neighbour, and she basically passes her time by reading cheap books on Kindle, and the first chapter opens with her finishing one of the worst books that she's ever read. So she leaves a 1-star review for this book, and the author actually comments on the review asking her to take it down, but she refuses. Then it kind of transpires that this author may have tracked her down and may be stalking her. One of my biggest fears is home invasion. So when I first lived alone, I don't think I've told this story in a while, but when I first started living alone, like 10 years ago, over 10 years ago now actually, I used to hear noises in the house, and it used to really freak me out. Like late at night, I would hear noises on the stairs, and I would actually be convinced that someone was walking up the stairs. I actually phoned my mum one night because I was convinced that there was someone in the house. And this book is really playing on that fear. So I love it, but also I don't love it. It's giving me 5-star feelings though, which doesn't happen very often this early in a thriller. So very excited to continue reading this today. I'm a little bit nervous because I've seen some reviews that have said this gets really wild, and I don't like thrillers that go too over the top. Hopefully it doesn't do that, and hopefully I do enjoy this overall. But yeah, I'll catch up with you hopefully later today. I'm gonna try and finish this today might be a bit ambitious, but I thought it would be really cool if I could finish 2 books before the end of the weekend, because then that gives me, what, 5 days in the week to read maybe a couple of other books. So I'm now over halfway through The Last Word. I think I'm at the end of part 2, and I'm still really enjoying it. I'm trying not to overthink it because I have a habit of doing this with thrillers. I become obsessed with trying to work out what the twists are going to be, and then I complain when it turns out that I'm right and I've basically not spoilt myself, but you know what I'm trying to say. So I'm trying not to do that with this and just enjoy the journey because it's so tense and I really love the suspense. I do have one theory, but also I still have a lot of questions at this point, so I'm hoping those are going to be resolved. I mean, they will be resolved, won't they, in the last third, but this is such a quick read. I'm reading it so quickly, literally flying through it. So if you are looking for a thriller like that, that you can basically read in one sitting, then so far I do recommend this, but also it feels like the kind of thriller where if I don't like the ending, then it's gonna leave a bad taste in my mouth. So we'll see what happens. So I am happy to report that last night I did end up finishing The Last Word by Taylor Adams, which I'm gonna give 4 stars. I really liked the beginning and the middle, but towards the end I felt like it could have been stronger. It could have been around 20 or 30 pages shorter because the last few chapters seem to really drag. However, I would recommend this. I think actually if you didn't like No Exit, there's also a good possibility that you're not going to enjoy this either, because the issues that I had with No Exit, I also had with The Last Word. For example, the main character didn't really have much of a personality and she was quite unlikable, but I wasn't reading this for character development, I was reading it for the plot. And I did really like the tension and the suspense throughout the whole book. It didn't do anything super deep, but I actually really liked how it felt self-aware, and the writing in particular I thought was really cleverly done. I don't want to talk about specifics because this has a certain writing style that I wasn't expecting going in, and it's something that I do personally really like. So yeah, I liked the writing. It almost felt satirical and like it was poking fun at itself, which yeah, I really appreciated. You do really have to suspend disbelief at times, but I think because I was expecting it, I didn't mind it so much and I was able to just sit back and enjoy the ride. I think if you are looking for a really fast-paced, action-packed cat and mouse type thriller, then I would really recommend this. It is the kind of thriller that you could easily read it in a day. I think I will continue to pick up Taylor Adams's books because I know what to expect from them now. Like, his books feel like a horror movie, and yeah, sometimes I'm just in the mood for something that feels like popcorn and that I don't really have to think about too deeply. So 4 stars for this. I did also want to quickly mention some content warnings because this was a lot gorier than, well, not more than I was expecting, because No Exit was quite gory, but it's a lot more violent, I think, than your average thriller. So content warnings for gore, murder, mentions of infertility, which I wasn't expecting, as well as mental health related stuff, including suicide. Emma also has a dog with her, and I obviously don't want to spoil anything, but if you would rather go into the book knowing what happens to the dog, then please DM me or leave me a comment and I can spoil that for you, because I know that that's something that a lot of people would prefer to know going into the book. But yeah, I don't want to just go ahead and spoil anything in the video. It made me feel so anxious. I have also now made a start on The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I'm only like 2 chapters in, so I'm not going to give many thoughts at this point, but I have been equally excited and nervous for this book. I have given Riley Sager pretty much every rating from 2 stars to 5 stars, but I have heard mostly positive reviews about his newest release. So fingers crossed that I actually like this one. So far, I'm enjoying the atmosphere. We're following this main character called Kit, and she works as a carer. So at the very start of the book, she's assigned a new patient called Lenora, I think her name is, who's now in her 70s. However, when she was 17, she was accused of murdering her whole family, and I think she was cleared of what she was accused of, but there's still suspicions around what actually happened. So yeah, it's an interesting premise. It's set in the 80s, I think, or the 90s. I do naturally tend to read Riley Sager books quite quickly, so I'm hoping to get to the halfway point this evening, and then I will let you know some thoughts then. But yeah, I really hope that I end up liking this, because I am never going to quit Riley Sager. Riley Sager has wrote some of my all-time favourite thriller books, so I'm always going to pick up his new releases, but I obviously want to enjoy them. So yeah, I'll let you know some thoughts once I have them, but fingers crossed. I had a feeling I was being a little ambitious yesterday when I said I'm gonna get to the halfway point of the only one left. Like, that didn't happen. However, I am now around a third of the way through, and I'm really liking it so far. It's not like a super fast-paced thriller, however, it is moving along at a steady pace, and I feel invested in the story. I really want to know, is this woman guilty or is she innocent? I don't have any theories right now. We do have like a timeline in the past where we're seeing the events that led up to this family being murdered. I think I did explain the plot for this, but yeah, basically the main character Kit arrives at this big house on these cliff tops, and she's caring for this woman, Lenora, who had a series of strokes, which means that she can no longer really communicate. Like, the only way that she can communicate is by typing on this typewriter. Kit can actually kind of relate to Lenora because she was previously suspended from work because of something that happened to her last patient, and everyone blamed her for what happened. And yeah, that's kind of what happened to Lenora. It's kind of reminding me of The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. Kit keeps hearing these noises in this house, and it's all very spooky, and I really like a spooky house setting. I just love that kind of atmosphere. So yeah, this is going well so far. I will do another update once I'm past the halfway mark, because this has happened with Riley Sager in the past, is that I've got to a certain point and it's just become a little too over the top, but so far so good. I also don't hate the main character, which again is something that's happened with previous books that I've read by Riley Sager. So I just got home from a walk, hence why I look a little bit sweaty. And I wasn't expecting this to arrive today, so I thought I would open it on camera. This is the Illumicrate Roots of Chaos series by Samantha Shannon. So I read Priory of the Orange Tree last month, I think it was, and loved it. One of my favourite books of the year. And when I saw the Illumicrate were doing a reprint of their special editions, I couldn't resist. So we have here The Priory of the Orange Tree and A Day of Fallen Night, both by Samantha Shannon, and I'm gonna hold up the edges together because they are absolutely stunning. Look how pretty it is. Oh, I can't stop staring at them because they're just so beautiful. The only thing with these is that they're not signed by the author, but I have actually met Samantha Shannon before. I met her at Yauk last year, so I'm sure at some point I'm gonna go to an author event where she's there, and then I'll just take these with me. They're quite heavy though, so I don't know if I'm gonna wanna lug them around. I'm not that fussed about having signed signed editions when they're just so pretty anyway. But yeah, I am excited to pick up A Day of Fallen Night because The Prior of the Orange Tree was very close to a 5 stars for me, and I've heard that A Day of Fallen Night is even better. So it is currently Wednesday, which means tomorrow is the final day of summerween, and I am quietly confident that I can finish The Only One Left before then. I'm either going to finish it tonight or tomorrow. I got to the 60% mark yesterday, and usually when you get to the end of a thriller, the pace picks up. So I'm expecting to fly through the final third. Obviously, we'll see if that actually happens, but I'm reaching the point in the book now where I'm hooked and I want to know what's going to happen. Riley Sager does a really good job, I think, of building intrigue. So he feeds you like these smaller twists throughout the book, which means at this point I'm expecting good things from the ending. I think I mentioned earlier I have had mixed experiences with Riley Sager books in the past, but this is reminding me more of Lock Every Door and Home Before Dark rather than The House Across the Lake, which is probably my least favourite Riley Sager so far, or maybe Final Girls. Those are the 2 Riley Sager books that I really didn't enjoy, and the main reason I think is because the characters have felt really frustrating, whereas the main character in this book, sorry, I almost forgot the name of the book then, but the main character, Kit, I think she's a little bit bland, but I think I mentioned this earlier in the vlog, like I don't care if the main character in a thriller isn't that interesting, but I think that her reasoning behind why she isn't leaving this job, but like she's broke, so I think it's believable why she's in this situation. It's feeling like a 4 stars at the moment, but I do find with thrillers that my final rating really depends on the ending, because a crap ending can just ruin the whole book. Like with a thriller, the whole point is that you want to be thrilled, but you also want a decent, satisfying payoff. And yeah, I'm hoping to get that with The Only One Left. I didn't feel like I really got it with The Last Word, but The Last Word I think is very different in tone to The Only One Left. Like with The Last Word, it starts off really action-packed and it really throws you straight into the action, and there's all of this adrenaline, but then by the ending I was kind of bored of that. Whereas The Only One Left builds up gradually and it's still really compelling. I think it's one of those where once I get to the ending, I'm going to appreciate the rest of the book, hopefully. I think I mentioned there have been a few smaller twists throughout the book, which some of them I didn't see come in, but I'm still waiting to be shocked. And the one thing I can't criticise Riley Sager for is plot twists, because even in the books that I hated by him, I still was shocked by the plot twists. So yeah, fingers crossed. I'm really hoping this is going to be a 5 stars, because I haven't had a 5-star Riley Sager book since Home Before Dark, which ironically also had a kind of haunted house set in, but that is a trope that I tend to enjoy in thrillers. So yeah, I will possibly check in with you tonight or tomorrow when I'll hopefully have finished The Only One Left, and hopefully it's going to be a 5 stars. So I have a bit of a dilemma because I finished The Only One Left last night and I ran it through Corpile and it came out as a 4.5 stars, which is really confusing. It was literally 1 point away from being 5 stars, so I think I should round up on Goodreads, but I don't know, because I think in my heart it feels like more of a 4 stars. What I will say though is that this is one of my favourite Riley Sager books. I'd put it up there with Lock every door. So it's within the top 3, which is really exciting because I feel like I have now a renewed sense of excitement for Riley Sager's new releases. Like the last few years, it's not like I haven't been excited for his new releases, but because I have such mixed experiences with his books, it means that every time a new one comes out, I'm on the edge because I don't know if I'm going to love it or hate it. I did think the ending was satisfying, but I would have liked just a little more explanation and rationale behind certain things. Like if I put this book under a microscope, I'm sure I would be able to find like half plot holes where there is an explanation, it just wasn't said in the book. Something that I look for in thrillers is how unpredictable they are. Like I want a thriller to keep me on my toes because I've read so many thrillers now that I know all of the popular thriller tropes. And I think if you're like me and you have read a lot of thrillers and you're looking for something that is going to keep you on your toes and where you're not going to be able to predict everything that happens within the first few chapters, then give this one a go because yeah, there was so many twists towards the end. I was getting whiplash. If I was being like super critical, then I'd say some of the tension and the suspense felt a little bit forced, but yeah, I would recommend this. I thought this was solid and it's probably going to be one of my favourite thrillers of the year. That does bring me to the end of this video though. It's currently Thursday afternoon, so there is a few hours left of the readathon, but I don't think I'm going to read anything else today, so I'm going to wrap things up here. I did manage to tick off all of the prompts for Summerween, so hang on, let me just get the prompts up again. Prompt number 1 was to read a book in the dark, and I actually finished all of these books, I think, late at night, so I could count all of them for read a book in the dark. Prompt number 2 was to read a thriller, so I read 2 thrillers, The Only One Left and The Last Word. I think I was going to count The Last Word for this one in particular though. Prompt 3 was to read a book that takes place in the fall, and The Only One Left does take place partly in the fall. It didn't give me like autumnal vibes, but there was a point where it was mentioned that it was October, but the book takes place over the space of like a long period of time, so I'm going to count it because at least part of the book did take place in the autumn. Prompt number 4 was to read a book with orange or black on the cover, which I'm counting The Only One Left because the front cover is basically a cliff face in silhouette and it's mostly black and then partly red, so I think I can count that. Then prompt number 5 was to read a manga, graphic novel or a novella, and I read Ring Shout by Djèlí Clark, which was a novella. So yeah, I am really happy with how this week has gone. The lowest rating I gave out was 4 stars, so I would say this has been, yeah, successful. Thank you for watching this vlog if you made it this far. Thanks also to Gabby and Olivia for hosting Summerween. I can't believe that this was my first time taking part in Summerween. I have had the best week, so I'll definitely be looking out for other Ween readathons in the future. I'm assuming the next one is going to be around Halloween. I don't know, I'll need to look into that, but yeah, let me know in the comments if you were taking part in Summerween and what books you read for the readathon. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I talked about in this vlog, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and click subscribe if you would like to see more videos from me, but otherwise I will see you next time. Bye!